So another thing that happens is basically Roosevelt or all of them basically throw me in front of the bus, pretty much, or in front of the steam train, basically. And they basically, at that point in time, I think it was when the metal came due, because everybody had put out their metal, everybody had paid up their money, and they were expecting to get their traction engine or their harvester. And so basically, Nixon and everybody else was like, him, Lucifer, talk to him. And I was like, oh, great. So basically, I have to face down an angry crowd of people who legitimately mined metal and legitimately paid the stock market people their money. And basically, I go in front of, I don't really go in front of people, but I talk to some people and I'm like, well, what you wanted might be a little bit smaller and might take a little bit longer for you to get it. And if you could pay a little bit more, we can probably get it to you a little bit sooner because our production values are on the rise. We were putting out more and more metal every day. So I was like, well, if you give us a little bit more time and you pay us a little bit more money, we could probably get you your items still. Because I know that mass production will turn around. Anyway, so everyone grumbles a little bit, but I buy myself a little bit of time. And also, I'm also looking at a population expansion as another problem too. So anyway, though, I actually basically smooth over the situation for them and actually get my way out of it because of the fact that, I mean, as the American president, as the leader of America, I can negotiate, basically, and as Lucifer White Star, I kind of have the money anyway, and the metal anyway, so it was just a matter of time. So anyway, and I have to pull in use some of my own money, but everybody's happy, and everybody's still got their traction engine for the most part. Now, and this is where I think Roosevelt or them, they're like, well, we can keep the money if we just kill those people or something like that. I don't really know what exactly they did, but somewhere along the line, killing people equals making money or something, and pretty much Roosevelt and they're trying to buy the country of the United States of America, or thinking that they could own it or something, and I don't really know. You'd have to go talk to Roosevelt and all them. Like, I'm not exactly sure about what their plan was or what they were doing. Or you'd have to talk to Rodney or Rick Bush or someone, because, like, I just know my part about it. Like, I owned a lot of deep mines, and I had no problem making metal. It was a matter of the time and timing. So anyway, and this actually happened somewhere around 1700 or 1890 or something like that, when this actually becomes an issue, when people want their harvesters and want their metal and want their lumber, but someone else stole the money. And it's like, well, yeah, it's going to take a little bit more time. So anyway, so I smooth it over and I work it out, and everybody is basically happy, and most people get their harvester or their traction engine, even though sometimes it's a little bit smaller. And I think maybe sometimes I even give them a horse instead. I'm like, well, we don't have your industrial harvester, but I can give you 8 horses. And some people are like, well, we'll take that. So some people get mules, some people get horses, and I feather in with, I smooth over the problems. Anyway, of course, Roosevelt and everybody else is like, yeah, we're victorious, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, I just saved your ass. Because I'm that good. Anyway, I talked my way out of it, and I have other money and resources, and so it gets smoothed over, and everything works out. And again, I'm like the super whatever negotiator. And everybody gets what they wanted for the most part, except for a couple people who went around killing people. So, and I had nothing to do with that. So anyway, and I think that's Roosevelt and Jimmy Carter and some of the other ones, some of the fake presidents, were just trying to pull one over on everyone, and they were just living on the speculation bubble or the loan bubble. Anyway, and then people learned that basically they can't trust them and they can't loan them money or metal or whatever. They won't get it. So anyway, I don't really know exactly. I just know portions of it, and small amounts of my involvement. And realistically, like I say, I'm the creator of humanity and 800 galaxies. Normally, I don't get involved with that kind of thing, but because they're humanity and because they're my people and because I love people and I don't want them to starve, nor and it was Lucifer Star America or my stock market that was involved in this. So I take it upon myself to get involved. So anyway, so that's what happens, and we work it out, and I become the Industrial Revolution guy, and basically, I know mass production would come through for me, and it was just a matter of time. So anyway, and I pull one over, but I pull it out, and everything works out fine. So, and I love my people for saving my. I love those traction engines so much. I mean, they were so cool, and they were like, even though they were heavier than engines and heavier than this. I mean, you can run them on wood, you can run them on hay, you can run them on sawdust, you can run them on coal. You can run them on oil or alcohol. I mean, we made an alcohol kit for one of the for one of the traction engines. So you could literally just pour in distilled alcohol, wood alcohol, and you could run the traction engine no problem. With a little bit of, I think you used a little bit of wood in there, and then you poured this stuff in there, and there's like a sprayer or something, and it pumped in more fuel. So as the wood burned, it would spray in oil and burn it even harder or higher or something. I'm not exactly sure. We worked on a couple of different other fuel types. Anyway, though, and people loved the traction engines, actually even more than the gasoline engines, because they were more reliable. You could always start them in the cold. You never had an engine starting problem with a traction engine in the cold weather. So high climates, the traction engine sold really well. I mean, you get up there at 1,000 feet or 12,000 feet, and steam actually starts looking. People said, "Well, yeah, you get up here in 5,000 feet up in the sky, and steam actually starts looking really promising, because past a certain level, when you get up to like 12,000 feet and the higher elevations, steam becomes like turbo steam, because it's already it's like so it really like explodes with power, and the steam engines have more power at higher altitudes than they do at lower altitudes. So, or equal power. Anyway, well, more power than equivalently non-supercharged engine. If you take a normal engine and you try and run it at 12,000 feet, and you take a traction engine and try and run it at 12,000 feet, a traction steam engine will leave a normal engine in the dust, because it works on a different principle. So higher elevations, people only used steam engines because they were just so much more efficient. You didn't need a supercharger, you didn't need a turbocharger, and they perform just as good at 13,000 feet as they do at sea level. So anyway, well, I mean, you can rig the engines to you can altitude compensate the engines for the higher altitudes, and we do that. There were some engines that were made for higher altitudes where the stroke, it equals being the same amount of psi stroke as what's called, but that's a modification and all that, and normally most people don't run at 13,000 feet. So anyway, you can altitude compensate it, but normally they don't. They usually build the engines to run around sea level or normal altitude. I think it's like plus or minus. Anyway, it's all technical and all that, and we got into that a little bit, but anyway, yeah, there's a lot of things about the world and the universe and manufacturing that most people don't know.